Welcome, everybody. I'm here with today's special guest. I've been trying to set this up for a while, and that is Charles Floate. Now, Charles is an industry expert and veteran and somebody that's been around as long as I've been in SEO. And he's somebody who I've gotten to know mostly through Twitter, but through some other things as well. And he's been a big help to me in a lot of different things. And Charles, how's it going?
It's going amazingly, Chris. I appreciate that introduction. Thank you as well. You've been a great asset to the community as always as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So why don't we just go ahead and get started off, just in case there's anybody that doesn't know who you are. Can you just tell us your background, your origin story, and what you're up to now?
Yeah, so I've been a SEO since I was a teenager. I started kind of working on my family business when I was literally 12, 13 years old, doing SEO, learning generally from like gaming forums and random blog posts and stuff. And eventually I kind of realized I hated high school, was already doing my own websites and earning some decent money from them with a mentor of mine called Todd Foster, who's now running one of Canada's, he's now running one of Canada's biggest agencies. And we ran a lot of like made for AdSense websites, some YouTube networks, some private gaming servers, things like that, until, we ran into an array of issues and stuff. And then I got kicked out of high school when I was 15, ended up applying for jobs and immediately getting interviews for SEO engineer positions within my city. I had 3 interviews, walked into the first one and got offered a job, took the job. With it, by the time I was 17, I was head of SEO for a London firm. And then I realized, my boss turned around to me one day and said, look, I think you have an issue working for other people. and I quite agreed with him, to be honest. And I left there and then basically on the spot and never looked back really. I ended up within a kind of few weeks of leaving that job, I was the first ever person to guest post on Matthew Woodward's blog with a huge case study on doing SEO for ranking like Brand Fishkin's name and mods and things and stuff with some black hat SEO back in the day. And then ever since then, I've done an array of consulting. I have a portfolio of sites, mostly international, CPA and financial websites. And then I also do some English stuff, but mostly in English. I'm doing Parasite SEO, hence the name of this live stream. And then I also run like an array of other businesses as well. So I have, some SaaS companies, newsletter, and some other bits and pieces. And then, as you said, I'm pretty big on X/Twitter and do kind of other social medias. Just started doing LinkedIn last year, nearly at, I think, 8,000 followers on there and stuff, and have got a fairly big email list and things like that as well.
Awesome. So one of the things I like about you when it comes to SEO is you don't get into the tribalism of it. You just care about what works.
Yes.
I don't want to pick on white hats, but white hats in particular, love to stick to what, just make great content that people will link to. You don't really seem to care one way or the other. It's just about what's not even including what Google tells you. It's just looking at what works and doing that. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of a stoic/investor mindset of you do everything based on analysis and research, and you don't take, speaking points and things especially from industry points that are biased. You don't take them into account in general because you do everything again based on that research and analysis. So it's not even kind of taken from the SEO industry. It's just based on a lot of the other influences that I've gotten as a young man kind of growing up in this industry, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I get along well with you is because I feel the same way, not just about SEO, but in general. I want to make decisions based on information and not on my feelings or my gut or my instinct or anything like that, or what somebody told me to do, And so I try to apply. I mean, I'm human. I still get emotionally invested in things, but for the most part, I try to apply that to everything. And for whatever reason, that's not common in SEO. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's not common in life, right? Like there's an abundance of kind of like irrational people at the moment, kind of seeming, and it is to an extent that kind of thing of like the loudest voices become the voices that command most of the attention, and that is definitely to some extent. But I would say that there's a big bias in the SEO industry, and belief is a strong thing, right?
Yeah.
And when people kind of get years and years and years of exposure around content in case studies and stuff that are reinforcing those beliefs, then it's very difficult to change them. Even when you're presenting evidence to the exact contrary to their opinion or belief, and they're still shooting you down. That doesn't really make sense. But again, it's coming from a logical, non-emotional angle and that's how you win, because it's throughout history where ego is the enemy, right? Where it's kind of been the downfall of many a man, and making sure that you're not irrationally responding, you're not emotionally responding, and you are logically planning things out, and you've got a strategy always, and you're always sticking to that strategy. That's how you are growing, and that's how you are continuing to compound that growth as well.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, because like I find that if somebody strongly believes something and you present them with evidence that something else is true, they'll dig even deeper into the thing that they believe rather than accepting the evidence. It's a very odd thing of the human condition. But I think that relates to SEO today in today's topic, in that what we probably wish worked was like just making content and making websites and stuff. But what's working better than anything right now is Parasite SEO, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And that's probably, why Google is taking these kind of recent actions and things to such an extent. And it speaks volumes that they're doing it manually rather than algorithmically, right? Because the algorithm can't, it's so tuned towards authority and these signals that's why Parasite SEO is kind of the number one strategy or number one tactic that's been working so well for the last year or so.
Yeah. So just in case somebody watching doesn't know, can you just briefly tell us what Parasite SEO means?
Yeah, so Parasite SEO, it's kind of in the name of itself. You're a parasite because you're latching on to another domain. And that either traditionally that was you were using free methodologies of building pages on domain names. So traditionally it might be, you're building a Blogspot blog or a Medium page or a Reddit thread or something along those lines. But more and more recently, it's become a trend amongst just large authority news websites and publications to either sell sponsored editorials, which allow you to then just immediately rank based off of their influence, authority, and kind of generic topical authority as well, where your own website would need to be a niche topical authority around one topic. Newspapers, like the New York Times or the BBC or whatever, they can rank for any keyword because they are truly a generic authority, right? So a lot of them were selling posts, but then in the last year or so, a lot of them have now just straight up done partnerships. So they've been doing partnerships with affiliate companies or affiliate groups or media groups, where those media groups or affiliate groups have been creating content for them. They've been publishing it on those large authority websites, and they've just been cleaning up. Yep. Like the best example of it, which have now, I think, deleted a lot of the content and have been hit by Google manually, again, not algorithmically, was the Telegraph in the UK that had a betting section that was ranking for basically every casino and gambling keyword in the UK. And by some estimates, it was pulling in £5 million of commissions a month from their business, which is, that's around $7.2 or $7.3 million per month that they've been pulling in commissions as a partnership. And again, it's likely that they were splitting that 50-50 in terms of the profits with the partnership company that they were doing it with. But again, there's no basis on why they should rank, right?
Right.
When you're looking at what Google is saying, they're saying EEAT and helpful content and all of these kind of things. But these are new authors on large sites immediately ranking with no kind of middle ground and stuff for there to be user signals and things like that to actually measure helpful content and all of that kind of stuff. So Parasite SEO has been a massive pain in Google's side because it disproves their documentation. Yep. And it's been just the number one strategy for the last year or so.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a tweet today, or whatever the hell you call it now, that said it was for best online casino. And the number one result was, I want to say it was Forbes. The number two was Reddit. And the number three was USA Today. Yep. Yeah. That's a great example of it. And for whatever reason, the gambling niche, it seems to be particularly, I don't know, it seems to work particularly well there. So,
yeah, I think the commissions are just so high. And the traditional kind of gambling affiliate websites don't have the authority that these newspapers have. They're like DR70s, 60s. They're competing with DR92, DR93. Like, they're just not going to be able to win, especially when those sites, publish 2,000 pages or whatever of content through these media partners and things, right? And again, those commissions, that you can do whatever you want with that kind of cash flow, right? It's just insane.
Yeah, and I mean, I know most people don't like him, but it reminds me of this quote I heard from Ty Lopez. He says, "You can be right or you can be rich." And like maybe the people that think that you should be able to rank by making great original content, or maybe they're right. Like in a real world, in a perfect world, maybe that's true, but that's not how it works. And I'd rather be rich. So like Parasite is what works right now, right? Like there's no reason not to do it other than if you don't have the budget.
Yeah, exactly. And even to an extent, I was speaking to an SEO the other day, and I was basically discussing with them the kind of risks that are involved in SEO now. And it's quite ironic, actually, that it's arguably more risky to start up your own affiliate, like white hat niche blog, than it is to do free Parasite pages, which all it really takes is your time and some analysis, research, and content creation, versus picking a domain name, investing in content, links, doing hosting, the whole that's thousands of dollars, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for some niches. And Parasite SEO, you can literally use free pages. So it's quite ironic that actually it's transitioned from black hat being the riskiest to actually now like white hat blogging being the riskiest, and Parasite being the safest and most approachable tactic there is.
Yeah, because I've seen plenty of sites. Well, I don't really see the sites, but I see the people on like Twitter and X talking about like that really did it the right way, like literally like travel blogs where they literally went to the place and like took their original photos, wrote their experience, and they lost like 90% of their traffic overnight after years of work to get there.
Yeah, and there's tons and tons of examples of it. Like there's tons of examples of genuine expert blogs, right? Being just replaced by like Reddit and Forbes. Yeah. And if you look at it on a surface level, what does and Google always talk about expertise and helpful content, right? And who has more expertise and who will write more helpful content? A expert on the topic who's dedicated their life to this subject, or a Reddit user and a journalist at Forbes? Like it's kind of just the complete opposite of what Google are again saying and what is actually playing out in reality. It's very easy to see it for a surface thing. The only thing is that Google aren't admitting the reasoning for it. And I think the reasoning for it is that they're dealing with such high levels of AI content that they've just had to intrinsically reduce the amount of signals and the amount of the factors they put into content signals to be able to make sure that AI content isn't creating so much index bloat, crawling issues, all of these things that they're actually seeing, which are causing massive processing issues. Someone the other day was saying that Google is now dealing with like 15 times more pages indexing every day than they were 2 years ago because of, again, and it's mostly because of AI and AI content and AI tools and things. And even if it's not AI content, it's some AI syndication tool or some AI automation or scheduling or something along the lines that is influencing that amount of output. And it's struggling to keep up with that. So a lot of the reason that we're seeing these authority sites and stuff ranked are because link signals went up like this and content signals went down, right? So it's obvious that the authority sites are going to win. It's just that Google don't want to admit that content signals have had to be devalued and that they're struggling to deal with the index bloat.
Do you think they'll ever be able to figure out how to deal with it, or do you think this is the state of it from now on?
So the issue isn't actually like so at the moment the technology is catching up in terms of like processing power and things. The issue is storage, right? When we're starting to run out of technological advancements around storage and compression and things like that. So there's literally only so much data Google can hold. Even if they upgrade their data centers and stuff, right? The amount of output that the internet is now creating is exceeding the amount of storage that we are able to do. And this is also, and it's not even a matter of the number of data centers. It's a matter of the fact that we can't power the data centers in the first place. We don't have an energy system in basically any country on the planet that could create the enough power for the demand of the data centers that we are wanting to create for the future. And that's going to show very, very quickly with a company like Google that rely on that storage. And that's why, again, they're struggling with it. But they can't admit any of this. The only slight admissions that you see are in investor reports and like quarterly earning reports and things about like climate analysis and things where they're saying, look, we're like struggling to deal with like hitting our climate targets and stuff like that because of the amount of stuff that you're putting on us to deal with like storage and processing and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah. I saw someone the other day, and I won't mention who it is. I'm sure you saw this too, but she or he It said that reducing crawl budget was like an ethical thing to do because it has an environmental impact too. I was like, that's a bit of a stretch. But
Yeah, that's just not going to be the case really at all. Yeah. And arguably as well, it's dependent on Google actually to reduce crawl budget, not really yourself and stuff, right? And arguably, if you're reducing crawl budget for your own websites and stuff, then you're harming your websites and clients. So
right,
I would say
less.
that, yeah, ethically, right, you're either, it's like the kind of trolley dilemma where you're either harming the clients or you're harming the environment. But even so, the environmental difference is minuscule in like reality and things, right? And it's the responsibility again isn't really on you; it's on Google, who are doing the crawling in the first place.
Yeah, and that particular tweet I think was just a virtue signal more than anything.
There's a lot of that going on in SEO, unfortunately, especially at the moment.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, it's like they're presented with evidence that what they think doesn't work. So instead of changing, they just dig in.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing of the human condition. So so before we move on from Parasite, what are do you have any advice on like what some of the best places to get them are? Is it Reddit? Is it Forbes? Is it Medium?
So again, so it depends on the SERP, right? We always want to do SERP analysis, niche analysis, stuff like that. Some SERPs might have the UGC intent prioritized at the top of the SERP. So you want to try and get Reddit, Quora, things like that. Some SERPs, it might just be articles. So you're wanting to get sponsored articles on the biggest newspapers you can possibly get that are going to significantly have higher authority than whatever is ranking there in the SERPs currently. We've done a lot of stuff recently to try and get parasites that aren't what Google is targeting. So far from what we can see, Google has only ever targeted sites that are on Parasite level subdirectories. So things like Outlook India has /business spotlight, and Times Union has /marketplace and things like that, right? All of those sites that have got specific subdirectories that are very easily association for Google to make across their content with that subfolder, those are going to get cleaned up, and they are getting cleaned up already and have been for a while. But a lot of the news organizations where you can buy sponsored content or editorials on just their news folder or their root domain, those are flying, right? Like we've got so many of those. And then there's also just niche publications. So as an example, in the health and like well-being, weight loss, all that kind of industry right now, there's an Indian publication called onlymyhealth.com. I think they're a DR 89 or something right now. They're selling sponsored posts. I think they're like $500 or something, but they're ranking for like number one for like buy testosterone and best testosterone and things like that. And all these absolutely crazy YMYL health keywords. And again, the ROI is just nuts because you're paying, a few $100 for this post, and it could make that within a few hours of ranking number one for that keyword, right? It's just absurd. So I think a lot of the strategy moving forward is just to go with any premium parasites. It's only going with parasites that are on those subdirectories and subdomains that are away from just having specific ones for parasite, and that they're on generic root domains or on subfolders for news and things. And then for the free parasites, because they're free, if you can build a process around building them out, right, you can use automation tools. So for an example, we use Axiom AI, which is a browser level AI automation tool, which you can train to do various tasks like signing up for Medium or signing up for LinkedIn and publishing content on posts and publishing content on Medium and things like that. If you can build a process that is almost automated around creation and publishing and things like that on these free parasites, you can scale out niche content and kind of take over niches very, very quickly. Yeah. And you can start taking, again, if you can build 30 to 50 parasite pages in a day using those kind of automation strategies, AI content, and some manual editing and things, and you again using AI tools like Grammarly to implement that manual editing and make it even faster, you can build those 30 to 50 pages in a day, and it only matters if 2, 3, 4, or 5 of them rank, right? Because those will pay for all of the other time on the rest of them, and then you just do that every single day, and you start to scale out across multiple niches, multiple domains. You get commissions, compounding, the whole lot. And there's so many people right now that are doing this. And I've got multiple students in my Parasite course that have seen success doing this. And there's a couple of case studies that I've retweeted from students that have, been making like 4K, 5K, 8K a month just from free Parasite campaigns.
And the good thing about that, as opposed to like making your own site, is if it does eventually get adjusted and your stuff gets indexed, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because you're linking directly to affiliate links or through a 301 redirect domain. You're never linking to your own website. Right?
Yeah.
So you never have any issues long term with any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now you mentioned AI content for a lot of that. You have a great tool called Cuppa that does mass AI content. Yes. You talk about why you think AI content is good, because I know you talk about it a lot, and then maybe tell us a little bit about Cuppa and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So for example, with free Parasite pages, right? Even 3 or 4 years ago, I would have had, let's say I wanted to scale 30 to 50 Parasite pages a day on free domains. I would have had to pay like 20 to 50, maybe $100 an article for human level writers to create that content. Now what I can do is I can pay an editor $7 an hour, or maybe $9 an hour if they're really, really good. And then they use my tool Cuppa with some additional advanced prompting, GPT-4, all of these kind of things. And they can create 10 articles an hour of very highly optimized content, very well done. And it will rank across these parasites. Again, it doesn't, AI content, that level of AI content where you're doing bulk content and slight levels of editing and things like that, it might not rank as well on your own website. But because you're doing it on Parasites and LinkedIn Post and all these high authority sites, it ranks amazingly. And arguably, we've found that a lot of the times just doing over-optimized content for those pages actually works better than trying to do like really white hat, semantically connected content and stuff. You just plug in 50 keywords into the content, bold a couple, and it ranks amazingly, right? It's again, because of these high authority sites being favored so much by the algorithm, they get away with a lot more than doing it for your own website. So it's kind of a different style and approach for that kind of thing, but it's mostly down to cost. I can create a 3,000 word article with Cuppa that is highly optimized, highly relevant, competitor level research, all of it done for me for about 50 cents, maybe 40 cents or something like that. Then I stick my editor on it for 5 minutes, even maybe 10 minutes if it's a decent article, using Grammarly or something along those lines, and the content comes out amazingly. It will rank, it will do awesome stuff. And again, it cost me maybe $1 or something total in terms of the cost of the article, where again, it used to be $20 to $100 per article. So the scale and efficiency is just unbelievable at this point.
Well, not only did it cost more to do it through writers, it takes a writer days, to write.
Yeah, exactly. The time frames as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing I like about Cuppa versus some of the other AI content writers, and I'm sure somebody's going to be like, how does this compare to whatever? But is that you bring your own GPT, your own API key. Because like there's a couple I've looked at that looked pretty cool, but then I look at it and it's like $3 or $4 an article. I was like, I'm going to use a human if I'm going to pay that much.
Yep.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are some VAs that will do that for that amount of money, right? And it will be better than the AI 99% of the time. Right. So a lot of the competitors are just essentially price gouging, and they're profiteering off of the community and stuff, whilst also claiming to somehow be a part of the community. But I always have believed in the bring your own key model, and I think that it allows people to truly scale their content, right? If you're charging $3 or $4, or even some of them are charging more than that. Like, yep. I'll call out Surfer and stuff. They're charging like $20 or something. I think it's now $15 or $12 an article, but still, it's really, really expensive for AI content. Yeah. And it shows in the scalability, and it stops customers from really being able to grow it using the available tools. And it also just stops customers from actually using that content, and it puts people off from trying it and using it properly. And I think that's a shame, because I think that it's the future of a lot of basically everything, right? AI is going to be the future of pretty much everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I used it maybe a month or two ago, and I generated like 500 articles. It took like a day for it to get through all of it. And it cost me, I think, $25, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cheap, man. It's crazy, especially if you do the bulk generation, you do your own presets, you do everything. You don't generate images. The most expensive part is image generation, and a lot of the time the images aren't great unless you're doing really, really good advanced prompting and stuff. But that's manual stuff again for each individual article and things. And we've been able to put like mid-journey and stuff into Cuppa and things, which allows you to also generate some even better images than just DALL-E and things.
Yeah. And you said AI is the future of everything. I agree with that. I know you're not really on Facebook, but I made a Facebook post yesterday about how that's the direction we're going, is we're making the platform legit more AI integrated, where it'll use the data that we've accumulated over the last almost 7 years by the time it's ready, to figure out what people that have similar use cases do, and then connect that to the best people to do that. That's kind of our direction with AI. And like I said before, you can either accept the way things are, or you can live in la la. And you can either be rich or you can be right. And I would like to be rich. So
it's also been throughout history, right? Like there's been technological advancements throughout history, which has just shown to create turmoil within specific industries. And that's going to be the case across all industry, basically, going forward in some way or another. So you want to just prepare to be able to adapt to it, see what's coming, be able to know what will affect your business, what will affect your life, what will likely change things, will it improve things, will it make it worse, will it take money and cash away from your pocket, right? All of those things, because it will, like eventually this technology will, and if we let it, it will become centralized. So all of it, what will happen it will be George Orwell style dystopian stuff where these mega corporations control 90% of the world because they control centralized AI technology, which again controls everything else in turn.
I mean, ChatGPT has been out for less than 2 years, and look at the impact it's already had on our entire society.
Yeah, exactly. And look how many SEO agencies and content agencies and things have gone out of business in the last couple of years, right? I can literally name, and I'm not going to because I would feel very bad doing that on here, but I could name at least 24 different agencies that I know that have gone either bankrupt or into administration or have gone out of business and just had to close down as a direct result in some way of AI affecting their business.
It's absolutely, like, I'm not ashamed to admit, it's absolutely affected our content sales. Like that was like competing with SEO as our biggest category for a long time. And now it's like in the maybe 5th as far as categories. It's dropped. I don't know, I have the exact number because it fluctuates month to month, but it's at least 75% less than it was in October of 2022.
Yeah, I've heard from some content agencies that they've had 90% losses, right? Like the only ones that I've really seen that have slightly improved are very niche specific agencies that have got expertise in things like law and engineering and stuff like that, that can create content that has to be legally checked and observed and, financially regulated and things like that. But in general, most agencies and stuff are struggling and have had to adapt. And that's also why I think there's been a massive uptick in link building agencies or content agencies switching to link building, right?
Yeah. So a lot of people are afraid to use AI content because I don't really know why, to be perfectly honest. And they'll cherry pick reasons why. Like the update that came out in March, a lot of heavy AI sites did get like manually penalized. Like, but I felt like they were picking on people that threw it in Google's face. Like Julian, his site got smacked. And I think I use the analogy of a police officer. Like, it's not that they can't detect it when you're going too fast. But if you go 5, I don't know what you call it in Europe, but 5 or 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, they're probably going to leave you alone. But if you go 100 miles an hour over the speed limit past the cop, they're going to slap you. And I feel like that's what happened with that. But in your opinion, do you think Google can or does give a shit about AI content?
So I definitely, so number one, I actually don't believe that they're doing AI content detection quite yet. I've heard from a few people that have gone to internal Google presentations where the engineers have talked about various ways that they're detecting it. And the funniest one I've seen is a slide where they were using TF-IDF, if you remember that.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. Yeah, they're using TF-IDF to reverse engineer AI content. But the big thing is that they were all of these engineers were essentially saying that it's hit and miss. It's not, ready yet kind of thing. And that there are other techniques that they're using to kind of find it. And from what I can tell, around specifically like the bulk publishing stuff, there's so many easier ways to tell. If you're publishing 1,000 posts today on your website, just publishing frequency, like domain stats, if it's a fresh domain, all of these kind of things alone would be indicators for Google to hit you without even the fact that you have got AI content that is maybe generated in a way that isn't randomized enough to be to get it detected, right?
Right.
However, even like with Cuppa, we use inside randomization elements. If you use advanced prompting, you will also generate additional kind of elements. You can put in keywords, you can do entities, you can do keyword manipulation. So you replace words that the AI would use quite a lot, like delve and quest and all these kind of things and stuff that the AI uses over and over again. And the point is that even if Google did employ true detection techniques, and again, they were all manual penalties. So and they were most of the core biggest ones were on influencers. And then a lot of the other ones, from what we can tell, there's between 200,000 and 500,000 manual penalties. But I know it was a huge number. But again, they were mostly on mass AI content sites or syndicated sites or things like that, which can get picked up very easily. And we have loads and loads of other examples of sites that weren't picked up. And specifically, when we know, or we can be a little bit more suspicious, let's say, around the influencers getting hit. Yeah. If you speak to Jackie Chow, if you speak to Julian Goldie, if you speak to all these people that were hit in those specific roundups, and bear in mind, they were hit a couple of weeks before all the other kind of, hundreds of thousands of manual penalties went out. When they got hit, if you look at the sites that got hit, it was only their public-facing Search Console, only their public-facing sites, that kind of thing. All of their private sites, all the private tests, all their private pages, they were still ranking, right? And I knew Julian, like quite a lot of Julian's private test sites, because I was consulting with him on AI content and Parasite SEO and things like that, and none of them got hit, right? It was only the sites inside of his Search Console. So I don't think that, and also I just think it speaks volumes that Google has to use manual penalties, because it shows that the algorithm isn't working and it can't detect this stuff because they're having to resort to using manual penalties to issue them. And again, they can use other ways to detect those kind of sites in the first place. And then when you're actually talking about detecting AI content in its entirety, it's scientifically impossible, because you have things like false positives and false negatives and randomized HTML elements baked into the models, and then you have like errors and all this kind of stuff and special characters and things like that, which literally make it a impossible task to do 100% of the time. So scientifically, there's no point, because you can't detect it all the time anyway. And from a processing standpoint, Google have been trying to lessen their resource spend, and there are way easier ways to pick up the sites that have been doing the least amount of work. Realistically, if you are just bulk publishing 1,000 posts a day with no editing, no additional prompting, no images, no nothing, no URL optimization, no schema, no microdata, no internal linking, no formatting, none of that stuff, which contributes to your quality scores of your pages, then there are so many other ways that Google can detect and take out those sites anyway. So you have to put in the effort, and all it is Google just is reminding you that you have to put in that effort, right?
Yeah, it's good that you say that scientifically it's impossible. We've all seen those examples where like the Bible got flagged as like 90% AI content or something like that. It's just not going to be done. And I don't think that I think that they're smart enough to realize too that even if they did decide that AI content is bad, the genie's not going back in the bottle. Like it's going to continue. People are going to continue to do it. So they're going to have to live in that world rather than the way they wish it probably was.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Let's take some of the questions that we got here. There's one over on X Twitter that says, where do you see Parasite SEO go after new reputation abuse update? Is it still going to be worthwhile to buy expensive Parasite posts at this time?
Yeah. So again, if it's not on these kind of Parasite level subfolders and subdomains, we're not seeing any issues. So if you can go to, NBC News, CBS News, Fox News, all of these huge websites that do charge thousands of dollars a post sometimes, then those websites, when you're posting on their /news subfolder, they haven't been affected whatsoever. And it's very, very unlikely that Google is going to manually penalize the /news subfolder of any of these large sites. And I don't see the algorithm being able to pick them up. And some of the websites still don't even release or have any indications that it's a sponsored post or an advertorial. Some of them, even some of the DR90s and stuff, still don't put that it's a sponsored post. They just put it by some random author or by guest author or something like that on the post. So legally, that's not really allowed, but they still do it. And again, they're large publications; they can get away with stuff. They've got expensive lawyers. They don't care. Google can't enforce stuff because they have just as expensive lawyers as Google does.
Well, and if they start de-indexing CNN and Fox News and like the sites that people actually want to go to, like that's taking their own product away. Why?
And it's waiting for a lawsuit around censorship and things like that and stuff, right? So
yeah, they've had to deal with that before, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah.
You have some experience with them cherry picking sites out of results, right?
Yeah, exactly. They've come after me twice now at this point, and again, every time they use the same penalties that they've applied to those other influencers' websites and these kind of AI bulk content sites. They use pure spam penalties, and they use pure spam penalties on my SEO blogs. So they were basically saying that, you know, these blogs that I'd never built a link at, I'd posted like genuine case studies and guides and tutorials that the entire SEO community had, even, you know, if they didn't necessarily agree with them, they still agreed that it was good content, and that, you know, the content from an overview level was a good piece, and that it was written well. They definitely didn't agree that it was a pure spam website, and that Google should remove it from the SERPs, and that they did that twice. And on the same day they did it to my SEO blogs, they also banned my AdWords account, they banned my Blogspot account, they banned my analytics account, they banned my Google Drive. The only thing I had left was my Gmail. They banned my G Suite though. So I had a G Suite with Google, and that was banned, and I was no longer allowed to have a business G Suite. However, the Gmail was left intact, because I remember looking at my phone and it just going ding, 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 ding. And it's just like de-index, banned, suspended, de-index, banned, suspended. Across like every single email is just like, what the hell is going on? You know? And then I quickly found out.
The SEO equivalent of cancel culture.
Exactly. Yes. But ironically, I got within the kind of months following that, my blog that they de-indexed had more traffic than ever, because that brought so much attention to my name. Like, I was the first person doing it. All the kind of white hat industry folks like Marie Haynes and things were talking about it and giving their opinions, and saying actually they think it's personal, and that it doesn't make sense that it's pure spam and things, when there is genuine good content on here. There's no negative links. I think my site had like 97 RD or something at the time, because it was in my charlesfloate.com, because it was a new website. And again, the second time they did it's de-indexed. I still have a penalty, but it's indexed. So
interesting. Yeah, and Marie,
might not be very long after saying that, but you know.
And people like Marie are people that disagree with you on almost everything.
Saying, exactly. Yeah. And bear in mind, she even tried to do a reconsideration request for me. And we tried to do one together, and it got rejected. So,
yeah, I have some experience in that myself too. My site, Superstar SEO, got penalized twice because of reasons that I don't know why. I don't really care. Yeah. Like, it's not that big a deal. But yeah, so I've been there too.
We got penalized. Like Craig Campbell got penalized as well, right? And Agent Black Cat got penalized and things and stuff. There's been a lot of people that have got hit. Kyle Roof is probably, you know, a very good example as well, with his Linux and stuff as well, and he got his sites removed as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's kind of a basic question, but do you believe in removing toxic backlinks?
If they're having an effect on your website, then yes, right? If they're not having an effect on your rankings and traffic and stuff, then no. Like, that's it, right? And a lot of the time now, links over the last few years, Google's trended towards neutralizing links instead of making links toxic. Whereas a few years ago, you know, if you had a couple of toxic backlinks pointing at one page, it was pretty much game over for that page. Like, and you could effectively do that with like negative SEO for quite a few pages as well. It was hit and miss negative SEO, to be fair, but it still worked quite frequently. Yeah. And the Google, like I said, have kind of moved towards just neutralizing links instead of having toxic backlinks. And I think it's like a processing issue where they're just reducing crawl budget. And instead of seeing if a link is toxic or it's turned positive or something like that, they just make it neutralized and then don't crawl it until every like 31 days or something. So they massively reduce the crawling and processing power and stuff against a lot of these links, which makes sense, to be fair. And it's one of the ways that they're just trying to reduce processing costs and index bloat.
Yeah, let's see. Calling it X sounds like you're doing a math problem. Steven says you need to convince Chris to come to one of White Press's conferences.
Yes. Steven needs to get on a meeting with me, and let's set up New York then.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see. I'm not getting orders on legit. I don't care. Snoop Dogg says I usually troll people on lives, but I like Charles, so respect. Well, thank you.
Respect, Snoop Dogg.
I hope I'm new to SEO. I hope I can learn some things. I'll just keep watching. Probably a stupid question, but how do you create a Parasite SEO? It's pretty straightforward, but
yeah, again, it depends if you're creating a free page, right? Sometimes it's the case of literally just creating a LinkedIn or Medium account, a Reddit account, and creating a post or a thread on those accounts and those websites and getting them indexed, and then waiting for them to rank. Sometimes, again, because those sites have been so turned up in terms of their authority and UGC intent signals and all of these kind of signals and things, they can just immediately rank, and they can take over spots quite quickly. So you don't even have to build links or do additional content or internal linking or all these other things. You can just create the page, see if it ranks. In terms of obviously doing premium parasites where you're paying them, you have to get in touch normally with a media department or an ad department or something like that for these media organizations or news publications, and then you go through them about costs. A lot of the time they will come back to you with upfront crazy costs, but you can come back with negotiation. Say you want to buy, 2 or 3 posts, or you want to buy a test post, or you want to create a long-term relationship, or any number of things, or if they're doing a deal for them to email you back, and a lot of the time they'll email you back at the end of the month because they're trying to hit targets, and they're just like, look, I'll sell you a post for $5 or something along those lines. I've gotten quite a few emails back from when they're trying to hit, monthly or quarterly targets or something like that as well. So you just want to get in touch, see the price, and then try and do an SEO forecast. So you want to try and see how much you can earn from ranking that page, and try and calculate the different positions, how much they would earn you as well. And then work out the maths on if that page would be profitable or not to actually go and buy. And then obviously just buy and build the ones that are profitable, scale out via reinvesting, and all is golden.
Wonderful. What do you think some of the best free ones are? Is it Medium, LinkedIn, Reddit? What?
Yeah, so obviously we're waiting to see kind of the algorithmic side of this reputation abuse policy change, so that it might change very quickly. But right now, LinkedIn, Reddit, Quora, Medium, even there's a lot of things like Eventbrite you can spam and manipulate right now. And loads of forums are really, really good. Just because Google's jumped up and jacked up UGC signals so much. If you can get niche forums and create posts on them, they work amazingly and things like that. I even saw some stuff from like hub pages and things ranking the other day, which is one from like 2007 or something, and that was ranking for some pretty big keywords as well, surprisingly. And again, a lot of those sites are actually now, even if they're not ranking in the main SERP, they're being picked up in the discussion and forums feature. So you can get really weird kind of random forums and stuff and get them to pick you up there. And then, there's a lot of niche ones as well. So there's lots of like little niche forums, niche blog creating sites, localized for geo-local Web 2.0 blog creating sites and things like that. If you're doing stuff in specific countries. And again, it generally works better outside of English. It works better in non-English markets and kind of outside the US and the UK even more so, right? Like there's certain countries that are just dominated by parasite pages right now.
Yeah. I'll give away a little tip on one is if you have like a help desk software on your site, like a Freshdesk or a Zendesk or something like that, those, if you can get them to index, which can be a little tough sometimes, those rank really well. I've been taking advantage of that with our own help desk stuff. So little tip for anybody who wants to try that too. And most of those have a free level too. So Joshua says white hats live in la la land. I love the ideas they have, but it's not the real world. Yeah, exactly. I wish that I could make a great blog with good content and that would make me money to justify it, but that's not the world we live in right now. I'm not going to push that next question up. It says it's about Corey, so we'll leave that alone. Hello, Charles and Chris. Question to Charles. Could you suggest where we focus most? Affiliate, e-commerce, agency, local? How do we SEOs up to date, keep our skills up to date? To keep your skills up to date, you go to charlesfloattraining.com. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Bingo. So in terms of where I suggest you focus, I've always suggested you focus wherever your skills are best put to use, right? So, and also whatever connections and things like that you have. So sometimes it might be better to focus on local SEO because you're really well connected with local friends and business partners and things like that you can use local SEO to power kind of a local business environment and network that you can make way more money through that than you can probably ever do online. And you can become a true kind of local magnate kind of thing by doing that way, as well as doing loads of partnerships and powering people up and things. Affiliate SEO, unless you're doing Parasite, right? Affiliate blogging and stuff is just really difficult because Google's changed the SERP certain intent level. So it means that affiliate blogs, there's like one affiliate blog ranking in the top 10 now for all of these keywords. So it's very unlikely that you're going to be that one blog across all of your keywords. And even if you are, you're in position 3 or 5 now. You're hardly ever number 1. So It's very difficult to do affiliate SEO unless you're doing Parasite SEO or you're doing YouTube SEO. YouTube SEO is really good for affiliate because you can start doing kind of related videos and stuff, and they can grow beyond just the YouTube search system as well. E-commerce SEO is always a good idea, right? Because e-commerce is hugely profitable. There's a lot of new markets opening all the time for e-commerce. There's countries that are just getting involved kind of with e-commerce markets and things that you can really latch onto and grow with and kind of make a lot of money with as well. And then there's also just Google's your favorite e-commerce websites, and kind of you can automatically trust e-commerce websites from Google's perspective because of cart systems and all this kind of additional regulation and stuff. So it's always a good idea. It's just if you're doing an e-commerce SEO agency, that's quite competitive. Right, there's a lot of e-commerce SEO agencies now. There's even like a lot of Shopify SEO agencies. There's a lot of WooCommerce SEO agencies. There's a lot of Magento SEO agencies. All of these kind of things, right? So it is quite competitive. That being said, you could get 3-4 clients that could, keep you and a 3-man team going for the whole year because of the amount of money that you can get from kind of e-commerce clients, especially if you're long-term doing things like revenue share or profit shares and things like that.
All right. Joshua says, should you limit your Parasite SEOs to 1 page per domain or just keep stacking? I'm not sure I get that.
So, yeah. So basically, Google changed the SERPs last year so that you can have more than 1 page ranking in the SERP from the same domain name. So a lot of Parasite people now are just creating the same post on the same website, but obviously different content variations, different, URL variations, things like that. But literally targeting the same keyword, but they'll create it like 5 times. Yeah. And they'll just hope that 1 or 2 of them hit, and they'll internal link, the last few to the first 1 or 2 or something like that, and try and power them up. Yeah, exactly. I don't necessarily fully agree with that strategy unless you're going into a niche where A, that Parasite's going to rank really well. And B, you're getting it a great ROI, right? So you're maybe going into a niche like crypto or casino or something, and you know that it's going to rank, and you're paying like $400 a post. Then yes, go buy 10, right? Because you can pay for that very quickly if it ranks. Yeah. However, I like the approach of kind of the shotgun approach of just trying to build out 10, 20 different posts across different domain names and seeing which ones do stick. And then if you're building out the first 10 and you've got another 10 to go, the 2 or 3 that do go really well, the next 10 that you build from other domains, you can link to the ones that are doing really well and just reinforce those because they're getting direct competitor SERP links, right? Linking to them. So it's always, I always prefer the idea of kind of doing the shotgun method of just getting as many pages across the board. And you can reinforce it with free Parasite pages as well. So when you've done your 10 or 20 paid ones, you go and build 20 free ones as well, and then start linking those to the premium ones that are doing well, and kind of again just stacking across the board.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, this question's a bit broad, so we'll try to be succinct as possible with it. But the ever-changing link landscape, that sounds like a chat GPT opening because they love the word landscape. What are the most effective and sustainable link building strategies for current and future SEO landscape? Don't go too deep into that because that's a whole topic on itself. But what are your favorite types of links right now?
Yeah, so anything that is going to build trust on your domain name. So, all your foundational links. So your social profiles, your citations, your press releases, your reference sites, your directories, your, all of the websites, again, that can kind of contribute to the raw trustworthiness of your website and that Google will trust your website. Those are just great. And that 99% of websites and SEOs miss out on them, especially when they're building new websites and taking on new clients and things like that. And it's just the quickest win to get Google to really understand your entity, trust your website, and again, that relates to real world ranking increases as well. In terms of other stuff, niche edits have always been really, really powerful. Google doesn't seem to be able to have some kind of any system that seemingly can deal with them, and they're really cost effective, especially if you can get them on pages which have got traffic, which have got links, which all that kind of stuff. And then obviously just authority editorials. So likewise, where I'm building Parasite pages on sponsored sites, I'm also trying to build out links from like large publications, from editorials and things as well, and trying to get them as cheaply as I can do. Because if you're paying $200 or $300 a post for DR85s, 90s, you're pretty happy with that for links kind of all day long,
Yeah, I did a campaign like that like a year and a half ago where it has like the double effect because I got like listed in like Maxim and Men's Journal and a few other like big websites like that. So it gave me some really powerful links back to legit, but it also got the name out there. So it's like there's a win-win there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And even if you're selling to clients, a lot of the time there's kind of like an ego play that you can sell to clients, whether you're like, hey, look, I can get you featured in Forbes or entrepreneur.com or Inc. magazine and things like that. You know, with interviews with you as like it's going to be your face with the Inc. logo right there.
Yeah.
And the CEOs, a lot of the time they bite, right? And they will spend company budget to kind of get their own face there. And so.
Yeah, even though they don't know that no one's ever going to read that unless they share
exactly, yeah. The only people that are reading it are them telling people to go Google their name and reading it. Like,
so the next question is basically, how can local SEOs take advantage of Parasite SEO?
Yeah, so if you've got a local map pack as the first result, it's basically impossible, right? You need to rank your map listing because 90% of users are going to click on one of those map pack listings. They're not going to click on the organic results. If there is no organic, if there's organic results or there's no map pack or the map pack is beneath the organic results and you've got maybe the first 3 results are organic and then it's a map pack, that's where you can do Parasite SEO. And a lot of the time you can do local newspapers. So a lot of the time, as a big example, DallasNews.com, they've since got hit, but they were selling Parasite posts, so they were selling sponsored posts. And a lot of people in Texas were using them to rank for all sorts of localized queries. So things like, you know, payday loans Texas or cosmetic surgeon Texas, rhinoplasty Texas, all of the local queries on like Dallas and Austin and things like that, because it has got so much localized power, so much authority. You know, it's like a DR85 or something. It was just completely outranking every other site that was actually creating any pages there. And even if there was, you know, like DR90 sites like TripAdvisor there, because it was a content piece, generally it would outrank them as well because it actually had more content for Google to read and optimize for the SERP than just automatic programmatic plays, right?
Yeah, I forget what it is, but Jackie has one that he likes to share on Outlook India. That's for some local term that he shows.
Like best Vancouver real estate, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So that's Fizz Digital. There's your free plug. Says, excuse my lack of knowledge. How would one use Cuppa for straightforward SEO for blue collar sites like HVAC, plumbing, general? You kind of just answered that, but you can kind of.
Yeah, no. So there's actually, if you join, when you sign up to Cuppa, bear in mind, you can get a free trial. So you don't need to pay for anything. When you sign up to Cuppa, you can join the Cuppa Discord. And we've actually got a section. We've got a section for local SEO, but we've also got an area that Todd has been sharing localized case studies in. So he's actually been using it to create local websites, to create like PBNs for local cities and things like that, to create link building and tier 2 links and stuff for all these local sites. And even aside from that, he's been using it for things like GMP posting and stuff like that to create posts that are highly relevant around holidays and stuff. So if, you know, for example, you can get a holiday calendar for the events that are happening in your country and all the events that are happening around your industry and things like that, you can get Cuppa to automatically create the content and then do the post on GMP and stuff, which can help with local rankings and things again in the map pack and stuff, right? A lot of that is about freshness and keeping up with posting and reviews and things on top.
And for the Americans watching, when he says holiday, he means vacation.
Yes. Yes.
What are some SEO techniques that work? This is kind of a broad one too, but what are some SEO techniques that worked in the past that don't work anymore? Just adding great content is one that doesn't work anymore.
Unfortunately, just great content, you know, keyword stuffing. A lot of the old school automated link building stuff doesn't work
Magic
anymore.
submitter.
All of that kind of stuff. There's, you know, a lot of like the old automatic local page builder plugins and things like that. They don't work anymore. Like there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't work. And a lot of it is around like link building where it's like, you know, social bookmarks or all this kind of stupid old school style link building stuff that just Google has neutralized a long time ago.
How would I know if bad links are impacting the site? If your ranking goes down after you build links, they're impacting your site. I don't think that needs any.
Sometimes though, you can see initially your rankings go down and then they will go back up. Like sometimes links, like for some weird processing reason, maybe it's something to do with like Google Stats or something. I've seen pages before they like a link goes live for the next 2 days, it drops 5 positions as soon as the link goes live. And then a day after that, it comes back up 19 positions and is number 1, right? And it's higher than it ever has been before. And I think it's something to do with like a reactive thing where Google's seeing if that link was meant to be there or not. And it's also an additional kind of processing thing where it takes Google longer to do the processing checks. And it maybe thinks it's a negative link initially. And then after it does processing checks and comparisons and things like that, it actually says that it's a good link. But you can sometimes see an initial drop and then it can bounce back up.
Yeah, as a link seller, those are the fucking worst because some people will monitor it and say that your link is bad, and then it turns into the whole thing. So. Yeah. On WebCAD Web, there's your free plug. Says with search engines moving towards multimodal interfaces, SGE, voice, visual, how can we holistically? You're using a lot of big words here. How can we holistically optimize for these different modes?
You can't, right? Like there's no way that you can optimize across the board because the models and the technologies and things are all different. However, what you can do is try to be the source. So there's always going to be prioritization for the foreseeable future by links, right? So all these search engines, all these initiatives, all these things, they're going to prioritize the sources in some way or another via links or via some kind of rating of authority amongst that publication. And generally speaking, the bigger publications are going to have higher authority and higher prioritization than, small little mom and pop blogs and things that they're crawling and using for summarization. So what you can try and do is seed into those training sources and be at such a prioritization around that training sources by being on the biggest sources that you effectively take over and control the narrative of entire models and entire kind of niches and things. But obviously that's a lot easier said than done. And it's a hell of a lot of work. And in some niches, it's probably impossible just because of how big the niches are and how much content is already out there and is already created that you can't really out-create and outperform and out-prioritize the existing content. But it's totally doable. And we've got multiple examples of it happening. And if you go into a few keywords with SGE, so like on any Android phones that you have here, right? You can enable search labs and you can enable SGE on your phone. So you can look up SGE immediately for anything that you want to. And a lot of the terms where Parasite pages are ranking, the SGE summary is literally just a consensus of what the Parasite pages are saying. So it's quite easy to actually control what SGE is saying and things like that. Less easy to control what voice and visual and things models are saying, right?
I never like to put much effort into voice SEO because you don't know how well something is working because you usually only get one result. It's usually find me the nearest whatever. So you don't know if you're number two. You have no idea. So. And
there's all sorts of like localisms and like colloquialisms and things like that and like accents and things that are going to play into how words are spoken out. And even if a lot of the technology isn't that great, and like it will get 90% of it right, but it will get like a couple words wrong. But that actually means the results are quite different when you're putting, two instead of two, right, with an extra O and things like that. It means that you're actually getting different intent results. And so it's too broad to kind of, people are too different to be able, and too unique to be able to know what everybody's searching.
Yeah, you said the technology is not right, and anybody that's used voice to text ever knows that that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just terrible.
Yeah. Let's see if there's any more. Do you do consultancy?
No, Yash won my giveaway. So he just needs to book it with Yudish, but I don't know if Yudish just has been very, very busy with replying. But he only won like 2 days ago, so it's all good.
Holy shit, I didn't know that. I know Yash very well, so that's why I asked.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice, yeah.
There's a question about a particular person. I'd rather not get into that sort of thing. Squidoo, yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, old school days.
Yep. Have you worked on GBT ranking as well in local SEO?
I don't know. I don't do local SEO at all. It's not my ball game. I'm doing an initiative soon where I'll be releasing some information hopefully soon with a very influential local SEO expert that is kind of fairly new on the scene, last couple of years maybe. And hopefully we'll be releasing some stuff soon. But that's quite exciting. And he's really respected and has got, outside of just doing local SEO, he's actually got very successful local businesses as a result of doing it for himself as well. So
yeah, I usually work with other people in local SEO too because I don't like it.
Right. Yeah, it's quite tedious as well.
Yeah. All right, this is going to be our last question because I know it's late for you and we've been here over an hour. Abdullah says how to find event blog site that should be less in competition but high in search. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have to do a different question.
Yeah. Event blogs. I don't know what that means.
No, yeah.
Sorry. You can ask that later. I'm sorry, if you can ask Abdul, if you can ask that later, I'll get the question over and we'll figure out the answer for you.
Okay.
I see you used to do lead generation, rank and rent. Might be ad.
Yeah, so that was a partnership that I did with Ed Rostron. And so we did like a ebook, but he wrote all of it. I just edited it and released it basically. But again, I partnered with somebody else to do all of it because I didn't have enough expertise to do it myself.
Yeah. Imagine that, like not releasing something that you don't know what you're talking about on. It's not very internet marketer of you at all. So,
I know.
All right. Well, we've been here over an hour and I know it's late for you, so I'm going to let you get going, but anything you want to tell us or share with us or say before we wrap up or anything you want to plug?
No, that was awesome. I appreciate it. You can always go to behind me at CFT, charlesfloatetrading.com. You can follow me on Twitter, this side here. There we go.
Let me do it and
where's it gone? Somewhere here. There we go. Charles _SEO on Twitter /X. And then charlesfloate.com as well has got all of my like consulting and blogs and things like that. But I don't really blog anymore and stuff either. So charlesfloatetrading.com is the one to do. And then if you're on LinkedIn, add me on LinkedIn and follow me on LinkedIn because I have only just started recently and I'm trying to grow on that platform as well. So as many connections as possible.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think this was very informative. I know I picked up a lot and I enjoyed it and I'm glad we finally got to work this out. So hopefully we can do that again in the future. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you having me and yeah, it was an awesome call.
Yeah. And as far as everybody watching, I appreciate you watching too. I know you could have been anywhere else in the world and you chose to spend an hour or so with us. I will never take that for granted. And I appreciate that. So thank you for that. I'm back on Thursday with Umar Mansha, who runs a nice agency. He's got some cool stuff to share with us. And if you want to make sure that you catch the streams like this live, what you're going to do is click subscribe and notifications. I've been told in all the YouTube courses I took that saying that helps your subscribers. I've never seen any evidence that supports that, but it's a pretty easy thing to do. So please subscribe if you can. That's it. I'll see you on Thursday. And last but not least, figure out what you want out of life and go out and get it because you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the world. I'll see you again soon. Peace.